We all love Batman Beyond, right? Terry McGinnis taking over for Batman, for Bruce Wayne. But whatever happened to all of the Robins that he had? Now, we know about Tim Drake turning into the Joker thanks to one of the movies. And we also know that Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne had a weird situation that happened between them thanks to the comic books. But whatever happened to Damian Wayne? Well, today, Terry McGinnis is going to find out exactly what happened to Damian Wayne. In our last video, Terry McGinnis battled against Terminal and his Joker's gang with a lead that they were reviving the real Joker. After going undercover, Terry found out that the Joker that was being kept alive was actually the former Batman, Bruce Wayne. In the end, Terry managed to rescue Bruce using an experimental bat suit, but the real Joker revealed himself after killing Terminal. He is out there. With Bruce Wayne finally recovering and returning to the Batcave, he notices something different. Max, Terry's younger brother, tells him that Terry has kept everything the same as before. He didn't change a thing. And Bruce looks around and tells him, no, Terry didn't keep it the same. The Batcave was never a hangout for friends and family. Terry shouts from the upper levels telling him that that's not fair. They just didn't know that he was alive. And Bruce scoffs, telling him, no insult intended, just making an observation. But as Terry goes on with Bruce telling him how good it is to see him again, Dana interrupts them and says that it's clear that they have a lot of catching up to do. Besides, Bruce isn't the only one here trying to adjust to the information that has currently been revealed. Terry hugs Bruce, telling him that it's good to have him back, but they can talk later. First, he has to go drop off Dana. Dana is his former girlfriend who didn't know that he was still alive, nor did she know that he is Batman Beyond. So basically, she got a lot of information in the last episode. Meanwhile, over at the GPD, Commissioner Barbara Gordon receives the identity reports on the person that they found. Carter Wilson, aka Terminal, was savagely beat to death with a crowbar. The officer says that they currently have no leads, but it may have been somebody who just happened to be around when his flyer went down. Barbara stares at the report stating that Terminal was too smart for that. It would have to have been somebody on the inside, someone that he trusted. But before Barbara can go any further, the door that she was reaching for is kicked in as she's knocked to the ground. She goes to grab her gun, telling the person that they've made a big mistake, but then she sees that it's the former League of Assassins member, Karari, standing in the doorway. Karari tells Barbara that her intentions are peaceful, but she requires immediate assistance. She must speak with Batman. Back in the Batcave, Bruce goes over the information on Terminal, and Terry's younger brother Matt asks Bruce if it's true. Is he really Batman? Bruce gives a low-sounding grunt, and Matt says that's awesome, it's good to have him back. Terry was having kind of a rough time without someone to guide him, like when his suit got shredded and they couldn't fix it. Luckily, they found an old experimental suit down here in the Batcave, and Bruce pauses. What suit? Describe it. Matt says that he can just pull up a file on it. All they know about it is that it worked great. It helped Terry clear out the Jokers. The image appears on the screen and Bruce looks at it and he says that that is X7. And Matt says by the tone he's using, he sounded a bit worried. Bruce stares at the Terminal and says, that suit was a prototype, one so dangerous to its wearer that it might get Terry killed. Over at the GPD rooftop, Barbara gets ready to turn on the bat signal, but before she can turn it on, she needs to know why. Why is Karari here? And she tells her that they have no time for an explanation, so Barbara says that she's gonna need a little more than that. That's when a voice tells the two women that it's too late for that, and a group of assassins from the League of Assassins appear. Meanwhile, in another part of Gotham, Terry drops Dana off at her apartment, and he says that he's sorry for not telling her earlier that he's Batman. The lying to everyone was really getting to him. Dana tells him no. She saw the look in his face when he was rescuing her. He loved every second of being Batman. Terry sighs, telling her, maybe, but he can't do it Bruce's way. Right now, all he wants to do is be human again. Dana leans in and tells Terry that he's a nice guy, maybe too nice to be Batman. And he leans in, telling her, from now on, I'm gonna put myself first, Batman second. Just before the two of them can kiss, the bat signal lights up in the sky. Dana says that it looks like he has to go, but Terry tells her, no, not this time. I can't lose myself in Batman. Besides, how bad could it really be? Back on the GPD rooftop, Barbara and Karari are backed into the corner of the rooftop. However, over at the Wayne mansion, Bruce and Max discuss Terry's rise as Batman when Matt runs in shouting that they have a big problem. Everyone heads back to the Batcave, and Matt yells that the bat signal is going off, but Terry isn't picking up his phone. Bruce connects to one of the satellites, and then he zooms in on the GPD rooftop to see Barbara and Karari are at the losing end of their battle. He says, this is really bad. If the League is out in force, the only thing that can stop them is Batman. While Karari tries to fight back, one of the assassins targets Barbara. She quickly jumps back in to help, but the moment that her back is turned, shurikens are thrown into it. Back with Terry, Dana says that it might be important he might need to go, and Terry tells her, all I want right now is, but before he can finish, his phone goes off, and that's when he sees that it's Bruce, so he ignores it and turns the phone off. Bruce says that he shut his phone off like a 5-year-old. What he needs to understand is that people are dying right now. Up on the rooftop, Barbara is struck with an arrow, and one of the assassins calls out to cut the power to the bat signal. Just then, a sword is swung cutting the cable. Terry looks up at the sky and he says, look, it couldn't have been that important, it went out. However, Dana feels her phone go off, and when she looks at it, she tells Terry that it's for him. Terry tells Bruce that he really needs to back off, and then he sees images of Barbara and Karari making their stand. Up on the rooftop, Barbara reaches for the arrow in her back, and Karari rips it out, using it to stab another assassin. Karari then looks at the never-ending group of assassins and says the League is here because of her, and for that she is sorry. Then another voice says, that makes 2 of us. And a second later, Terry flies in, clearing the path. While Terry begins taking out the assassins, Bruce and Max watch at the Batcave, and Bruce says that suit that Terry is wearing is a prototype, never to be worn by anyone ever again. More assassins come out of the shadows, so Terry pulls out his claws, telling them, looks like I'm gonna need a more hands-on approach. He starts to cut away into the assassins, and Bruce radios back that he needs to stop. He needs to get back now. After taking out the last 2 assassins, Terry looks at all of the dead ones, and he says, I'll be back in a bit. First, I need to find out why Karari is even here. Karari hands over a vid, telling Terry that he needs to see this. She's here to make sure that he watches it. The video begins to play, and an image of a Himalayan temple appears, and a voice can be heard rallying their men. The voice tells the League of Assassins that now it is time for them to rise. It is time for one of them to take the magnificent opportunity and exploit it. The more Terry listens, the more he realizes who that voice is. It's Ra's al Ghul, and he's alive. Bruce shouts over the radio that Terry needs to come back with that suit. They can deal with Roz later. Karari calls her flyer over and says that they must leave now. So Terry radios back that if it's true that Roz is back, there is no time for him to return. He has to leave. As the flyer approaches, a man calls out to Karari, telling her that she shouldn't have left her craft unguarded. Terry looks up to see a man wielding 2 swords on her ship, and he says, I'm going to assume that guy's not a friend. Karari tells him no, that's Koro, the demon's right hand. Just then, Koro leaps from the flyer at Karari, asking if she really thought that she could betray the League and succeed. The 2 swords slam into the ground, forcing everyone to jump back, and Koro looks at Terry, telling him, it's Batman, or so what he calls himself. Karari lands on her flyer and shouts to Terry to just leave him, but Koro knocks Terry with the butt of his sword. He swings down on Terry, telling him, I cannot believe that you were allowed to defile his image. Terry jumps up, kicking back Koro, and then he starts to make his way towards the flyer. Koro looks up, stating, I will not let you go, and Karari jumps back, stating that the ship is set to autopilot. She'll deal with Koro. The ship's hatch closes on Terry as he shouts, wait, hang on, I'm not ready. Koro then punches through Karari's guard and stabs through her chest. As the sword is pulled out, Barbara shouts that she's gonna get help, and Koro says that it's a shame that my master has an urgent need for me, or else I would deal with you as well. Up in the ship, Terry tries breaking the hatch, yelling that he will blast his way out if he has to, and a voice in his head tells him no. We were programmed by Wayne to act as he would. Communication with the wearer can facilitate maximum effectiveness to ensure that Batman succeeds, even if the man inside cannot. Back at the Batcave, Bruce says that he fears that the suit's AI will overwhelm Terry. It is programmed for one thing, that Batman will never fail. Matt asks how bad could it really be, and Bruce explains that during his final days as Batman, he wore that suit. People were dying, the police were beaten, and so was he. The Banes were out of control, and he needed more strength, more speed, so the suit was developed. It was designed to block pain, override cautionary judgment, and make sure that whatever the job was, it got done. Wearing the suit, I was unstoppable. Broken ribs, no problem when you don't feel pain. But then the AI started to take over, and after having 2 cracked vertebrae, you shouldn't even be able to stand. However, the suit put me right back up, and I kept fighting until it was over. Max says that no one should ever use that thing, and Bruce says, one other did, once. But that's in the past. Bruce tells everyone that he'll stay here and get in contact with Terry. They need to take it easy for now, it's going to be a long night. Meanwhile, over in the Himalayas, Terry flies closer to Raz's temple when the suit's AI indicates that they're getting closer. However, there is ground activity detected. Terry asks what kind, and the suit responds, telling him surface-to-air missile. And a second later, the aircraft is hit with a missile. It explodes, and Terry jumps to the temple's entrance, stating, well, it looks like Raz is home. The assassins begin running out, and Terry smiles, stating, I'm hoping that you have help nearby, 'cause you're going to need it. Back in the mansion, Max and Matt both wait to eat, but that's when Matt notices the Batmobile take off. Inside, Bruce says, I couldn't let anyone else take this one. The demon is my problem, no one else's. Over at the temple, Terry continues ripping through the crowds until the last one falls, and then a voice calls out, welcome, pretender. Terry turns back to see Raz, and then he jumps right away to beat him down. Raz deflects the attack, asking, since when did Batman kill his foes? Is that another indicator that you truly aren't Batman? The two continue to fight, and then Terry manages to punch away Roz's helmet, and that's when he stops, because the one under that helmet is not Roz at all. It is Damian Wayne. Terry stares for a moment, and the AI says, with the retina scan of voice analysis confirming it, it is Damian Wayne. Terry says, I've always wondered about you, like how I got the suit and Bruce's own son. One of his Robins didn't. Damian tells him, the answer is simple, Pretender. I did. The two go back and forth exchanging blows, and Terry asks, if that's the case, what happened? Couldn't live up to the brand? Damian throws one of his swords, telling him, one of the answers should be clear. People need the suit to be effective, however, I do not. Terry lunges to tackle, but Damian catches him and throws him through a window down into the lower levels of the temple. The suit announces that the opponent is fully skilled in all forms of personal combat. He is likely the single most accomplished opponent that you will ever... Terry shouts back at the suit, shut up! I'm feeling good about this. Damian makes his way down to continue the assault, and the suit says, for you to prevail, lethal means are required. Meanwhile, just outside, Bruce lands the Batmobile and starts his hike up the mountain, thinking back to the last time that he even saw Damian. It was when Roz was upgrading his technology to stay current with the times. And to stop it, Damian wore the X7 suit. As he watched him leave, Bruce could feel the ferocity in Damian, and it sent chills down his spine. Damian fought for 4 straight hours until almost all of Roz's army was wiped out, and that's when his own son became someone that he didn't recognize. As he came to the scene, he found the tattered remains of the suit, but no Damian. The suit had changed Damian. He had taken up his grandfather's mantle. But before Bruce could dwell any further on what had happened in the past, a voice calls out to him, and Koro tells him, that's far enough. I'm thankful for this chance to meet you because now I will do what my father could not. Bruce says, I'm gonna take a wild guess that your father is... But before Bruce could finish, Koro punches him, telling him, my father was Ubu. Back inside, Terry charges back at Damian, and Damian tells him, there's one more thing that I don't need, and that's weapons. Not when I can use my opponents against him. Damian reaches into the suit's compartments and takes out 2 small explosives, throwing them back at Terry, throwing him outside into the snow. He then jumps down, telling him, there's one thing that I know about the suit, and that's its vulnerabilities, such as the exact frequency needed to jam the cyberlink. Terry gets up, looking around, noticing several speakers pointed at him, and then a screeching sound blasts into the field. The sound stuns Terry, and Damian moves in, knocking him to the ground, telling him, I knew Karari would seek you out. I knew how this would play out, and all I wanted most of all was you. Over with Bruce, Koro beats down on him, telling him, my master said that this was supposed to be a challenge, but there is no concern for that. After picking up and throwing Bruce to the ground, Bruce quickly spins over his back and takes out his grappling gun and fires. The anchor hits Koro in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him, and Bruce then struggles, getting up, telling him, that's one down. As he gets closer to the temple, he sees a pit, and then his eyes widen. He shouts, no! And Damian holds a sword over Terry's body, and he tells him, welcome! You're just in time to see the Pretender die, father. Bruce yells for him to stop, so Damian takes a sword and slams it into the ground next to Terry's head. Damian tells Bruce, you should know that I wouldn't kill a compromised weak opponent, especially one so inferior to me. Bruce asks, how should I know? The fact that you're here makes me realize that I barely know who you are anymore. Damian looks back, telling him, even still, you know a great deal about me. Like the fact that even though I never came for you, I would come for the Pretender. While Bruce and Damian argue, the suit's AI begins to reboot, and it tells Terry, the efficiency levels are at 72%. You are clear to engage the enemy. Terry jumps to his feet and he runs, tackling Damian, telling him, you must feel good winning round 1. Terry reaches back and throws a handful of batarangs, and with each swing, Damian cuts through them all. As the two clash, Damian tells him, you had the element of surprise. You should have put it to better use, Pretender. Bruce yells, this doesn't need to happen. And Damian tells him, of course it does. In fact, it's long overdue, father. Terry tries to keep up with Damian's pace, but as they fight, Damian seems to be one step ahead. And after being knocked back down, Terry lays in the snow, and Damian tells him, get up! As Terry struggles, the suit pushes him, and the AI says, deadly force restrictions are waived. The 2 spinning blades swing out of Terry's wrist, and he screams, running back into the fight. He recklessly swings at Damian, with Damian blocking each hit, and he says, good, the suit is taking over. That means that I can stop holding back, including utilizing all of my weapons. He calls out, come at me, my old friend, and then there's a rumble, and from the cave, we see the giant red beast Goliath charging out. Punching into Terry from behind, he knocks him to the ground. Terry tries to fight back the giant bat beast, and Damian laughs, telling him, the Pretender left himself open to attack from behind. Truly an inadequate replacement for me. Damian turns back to Bruce and he tells him, "The reason I left is because I wanted to. As for returning, I did once, but it was clear that I shouldn't have even bothered." Bruce asks him, "Because of Terry? I searched for you, but I couldn't." And Damian stops him, telling him, "Don't lie. The great Batman could find anyone that he wants. You gave up on me. However, I hold no malice. It was just that I had realized that Batman's focus was limited to Gotham. Raz's worldview was more expansive. When Batman worried about the night, Raz focused on the future." Raz had regenerated himself in the Lazarus pit so often that it could not be done again. His time as an immortal would soon end. I knew that Brother Eye would eventually recognize the humans as imperfections and eradicate them. I knew that we had to prepare. Damian then says, "Just think of the irony. Earth's greatest peril was not the work of Ra's al Ghul, but Batman himself. With Raz's passing, I knew that his view of the world was actually right. Earth was dying, its population dragged into a cesspool of filth. Reconfiguration was the only answer." The ground slowly begins to shake as a silo opens up, revealing 5 missiles, and Bruce shouts, "There's no way that I will allow you to fire those." Bruce then grabs Damian's jacket as Damian tells him, "If I thought you were capable of stopping me, I would not allow you to come here." Goliath grabs Bruce and throws him, and Damian continues telling him, "You are here to witness the next step of Earth's evolution." Bruce gets up, telling him, "This isn't you. The suit did this. It alters your mind." And Damian shouts, "Wrong! I'm exactly what I was raised to be." Terry calls out, "If it was the suit, I should be thanking it." And as everyone turns back, he can see Terry on top of Goliath using his collar to choke him. He pulls the chains tighter, struggling, telling him, "I admire your ruthlessness, seeing a job that needs to be done and just doing it no matter the cost." After a few moments, Goliath falls to the ground, lifeless, and Terry hops off, stating, "So much for your pet." Terry's face then breaks out in a smile, still holding the chain, telling Damian, "Now it's your turn." Damian pops out 2 blades from his gauntlets and shouts, "For killing Goliath, you will die." He rushes, pinning Terry to the ground, and Bruce takes that chance to run over to the silo's terminal. He hits away at the keys, trying to override it with all of Damian's old passwords, but nothing is working. Meanwhile, while Damian gets back off of Terry, he says, "It's just as I thought. You're nothing but a pretender." And even with Terry's body badly injured, he jumps to his feet, picking Damian up by the throat, shouting, "Stop calling me that!" While Damian goes back to attacking the suit directly, he hears Koro's voice telling Bruce, "You left me for dead." He grabs Bruce by the back of the head and he slams him into the council, shouting, "My father died a defeated man because of you." Other assassins shunned him, and in his despair, he sought to regain some shred of honor by taking his own life. Koro cracks Bruce across the face and he begins to choke him, telling him, "You will never do that to anyone again." While Damian gasps for air, he muffles out to Koro, "Don't do it! That is my father!" The suit AI tells Terry not to break, eliminate the enemy, and Terry struggles to control the suit. With all of his might, he loosens his grip on Damian, telling him to go. Koro says, "I care not if this man is your father, he dies." Damian runs in, tackling Koro, telling him, "I gave you an order to stand down, and you will do so." He gets back up, telling him, "When the head of the demon gives an order, you follow." But before Damian can react, the suit's AI takes back over and attacks while Terry is shouting, "I don't want to!" Terry knocks Damian to the ground, and the suit says to strike, taking out the arm blade, and Terry says, I can't, I'm not doing this." Bruce hurries over, telling Terry, "You have to stop. I can't let you kill my son. If you do, you're gonna have to go through me first." Terry struggles and he thrusts his arm down, barely missing Bruce. And Bruce says, "That's it. He's fighting back." Terry crawls away as he claws in the mask until finally he rips it off. Bruce reaches down to Terry, telling him, "You did it. You beat the suit." He then looks at Damian. "If this is your way to draw me out after all of these years, you've made your point. Deep down, I know this isn't what you want. This isn't the way. Please, abandon this course. Let us work together to get a real solution." Damian's hand hovers over the launch button, and then there's a low grumbling coming from behind them. Goliath weakly howls, "Ow!" And Damian runs over, shouting, "He's alive!" Then Koro says, "You are nothing more than infidels. You may have betrayed the one true head of the demon, but I will not." Koro then slams his fist down on the launch button and the rockets begin to fire. As they take off, Koro says, "Those are DNA toxins, designed to eradicate all but the strongest." Damian spins back, punching him, telling him, "That was not your call to make." Bruce says, "We have to redirect them," and Damian tells him it's impossible. Once they're launched, the targets are locked in. Terry pulls the mask back down, telling them both, "Don't worry, I got this." Damian shouts for him to wait, but Terry's already in the air before he can finish the sentence. Bruce tells him that hopefully the suit in its weakened state will be enough, but it's the weakness that is in it now that may doom Terry. He shoots up, grabbing the rockets, and using the pulse blasters, he pushes 2 of the rockets, colliding with 2 other rockets, bringing the number down from 5 to 1. But with more energy spent, the suit indicates that its power is rapidly dropping. Terry asks, "What still even works if that's the case?" And the suit tells him nothing. Just then, the power shorts out and Terry begins to plummet back to the Earth. Back at the Batcave, Matt shouts to Max that they have to do something. And she says that she's working on it. Let's see if... And then up in space, the missile continues on its path, and then a satellite steers into that path, causing it to explode. Matt says that it worked, and then he radios over to Terry that they did it, but Terry doesn't respond. Not far away, Bruce and Damian ride up in the Batmobile, and Bruce says that they have one shot. They gotta make sure it's perfect. Damian jumps out with a rocket pack, stating that he's incapable of any other way. He reaches out, grabbing onto Terry, and deploys the parachute, allowing them both to safely land. A short while later, once everyone's back in the ground, Bruce tells Damian that he would still like him to come back to Gotham. And Damian tells him, "Not now. The day will come when I return, though." Terry says that they can have balloons and cake and confetti in the Batcave. We can have confetti in the Batcave, right, Bruce? Bruce and Damian shake their heads. And Damian says, "I will eventually come back, but there are some positives I can accomplish leading the League." The two hug, and Damian and Goliath return to the temple as Bruce and Terry get back into the Batmobile, and they take off. Terry says, "You know, for being old, you're starting to soften up. It's okay to be a dad." And Bruce tells him, "It's even better to feel like I have two sons." And there you have it. This answered one of my big questions that I've always had about the Batman Beyond universe ever since I fell in love with Damian as my favorite Robin. I know, I said it, but Damian is my favorite Robin because I feel that Dick Grayson is a much better Nightwing, and Jason Todd is a much better Red Hood, and Tim Drake is, well, just really good as Tim Drake. Anyway, what did you guys think about this, history as to what happened to Damian Wayne? And do you feel that maybe he should have been the actual Batman Beyond? Let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel to keep up to date in your favorite comic books, and you can follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian. Various videos are going to appear now, and I'll see you next time right here